Hello, thank you for joining us today. My name is Riley,
And I'm Zaylin.
and today we wanted to talk to you about religion, spirituality, and faith, and how they're all connected. I just wanted to thank you, Zaylin, for joining me today. This is my partner and lover, and we have had different perspectives on religion, spirituality, and having a sense of faith. So we wanted to come on to here and talk to you about how we can have different beliefs, but at its core, it's a really similar thing that we're experiencing, just in different ways.
So I grew up going to a church 3 times a week, and that was awful. I only went because my parents made me go. And so that was my view of God and faith and everything, is that you have to abide by all these rules, and everyone pretty much lays out a roadmap for you to follow, and you have to follow it or else. But over time, as I've gotten older, I've developed my own view and deconstructed those beliefs. And so today it looks very different for me than it did when I was growing up.
Oh, yeah, that's wonderful. And that's why I'm really happy that we get to be here today talking about what it means to us because it's still very meaningful and important for us. So it's wonderful that you've got to deconstruct that and have it be a part of your life again.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've helped each other with that, which is why I was really excited to talk about this, is because this has been a big part of our lives, especially recently, of rediscovering what it means to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, we wanted to talk about praying today because that has been something that we feel like between the both of us has been something that we have wanted to do more. And for me, I just think of how I've wanted to continue having those conversations, whether it be with God, my higher self, higher dimensions of energy and whatnot, all these explanations of what creation is, um, really tapping into that and speaking to that has been really important for me. And so I would love to know more about what praying as an experience is like for you.
Yeah. So for me, praying is very grounding. A lot of times when I'm laying in bed about to go to sleep, and I know maybe I should think about this earlier in the day, not the last thing I think about, but I'll be like, let me do a little prayer. It's very centering, very grounding, and very grateful. It reminds me that I have a lot to be thankful for as I'm like literally counting my blessings because and your prayer style might be different. I think it's to each their own type of thing, but I will be like counting the things that I'm grateful for and just conversating with God. And that's very helpful. It strengthens my faith and it does a lot for me to believe that there is something else that exists other than what we see now.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. And it makes me so happy that that's really what it's about, is having that beautiful, intimate experience with something that to a lot of people is unexplainable. And, I would even, ask you, like, in a way, it is almost unexplainable
Yeah.
of what you're doing. So I think it's really amazing that we know that, but we also know that there's a reason we do it. There's a reason that countless other people throughout history have done it.
Yeah.
It's very powerful, clearing. It's all these different things that help us so much. Grounding, as you mentioned. I loved when you said that because that's very true for me too. When my mind has felt so scattered, I just would have an open conversation in a quiet place, maybe in nature, and just start talking. And it was really freeing for me
Yeah.
because growing up, it's like praying was something maybe I did when I wanted something to be better, when I needed circumstances to change. I would almost be begging to have these things change. But now it's just more like a conversation.
Yeah,
And I really love that.
that's awesome to hear. Could you share with us more about what praying looks like for you? Because I've noticed that you'll go outside a lot and be in nature. So I was talking about how I would lay in bed and pray, and I even used to be on, I would get on my knees and pray. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, sometimes I would consider it almost a form of meditation. Um, I want to be more active about the words that I'm saying. You know, if I'm having this conversation with what I feel like is the divine, then I need to be more mindful of what these takeaways I really have from these conversations are. But for me, it looks like just really pondering on things and how they make me feel. When I have spoken out loud, it's been really beneficial for me to be doing that. So that's something I want to continue doing. When we speak our minds about what it is that we're wanting to change in our lives, I feel like it's really powerful to be able to sit down and do that with the knowing that you're speaking to God, the unknown, you're speaking to what is unknown, but there's a reason that it's really powerful because you are saying that that thing could be true for yourself. And a lot of people, want to be a certain person, but it really helps to acknowledge those things out loud because you're putting it out into existence that I am powerful, I am protected, I am blessed and highly favored, and
Yeah,
saying all these things. And it's powerful because you get to have a say in what your life looks like, but people kind of subconsciously forget about those things is what I really think happens. They just say
yeah,
like, oh yeah, like I know that I'm powerful, I know that I'm beautiful, I know that I'm all these things, which is good to know those things, but you're feeling those feelings of like, oh, well, if somebody says like I am beautiful, and then a person who's hearing it is responding in a way where it's like they are having some sort of negative feeling pop up in them, it's almost like if you are having that negative feeling inside you, then it brings like it calls it to your attention, like what you could be understanding, like why it makes you feel that way. So that's even what affirmation, speaking, praying, that's how
yeah,
it all connects, is because your words do have power. And especially like when it comes to your relationship with yourself, your life, like it's all very meaningful and powerful. Does that make sense?
perfect sense. I love affirmations. Like I used to
Yeah.
be extremely depressed, and saying positive affirmations to myself as often as I could remember to do it,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the biggest things that helped pull me out of that place.
Yeah.
And so I'm always telling people about that now, like say positive affirmations.
Yeah.
I was even telling you the other day that I want to start saying them more for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were talking about praying, that reminded me that a big part of prayer is affirmations. So I love that.
Yeah. Like I said already, we can think it's silly that we should be doing those things, but you're allowing yourself to really truly believe it because you're vibrating your voice in a way that it is coming out of your body. You're putting it out into the world, not just stirring around in our minds. It's actually coming out. I think that is powerful. There are vibrations in our bodies like that resonate, and our minds will accommodate to what we are seeking to have come into our life. Like that is essentially how manifestation is working, is our brains are finding a way to make it happen. And it does start with the affirmations. It starts with those positive affirmations of what you want to manifest, what you want to bring into your life. I'm curious, when you think about manifestations and prayers, does it feel similar to you when it's like God's answering your prayer, or does it feel similar to like what manifestations are, like miracles happening? What would you say?
Hmm. So growing up in the church, it was always that God was answering your prayer and it was a
Mm-hmm.
miracle that had happened. Present day, I do think that we ourselves can cause a lot of these positive things to happen through like setting our mind or the intention that it will happen and then like subconsciously we do all the things behind the scenes that make those things happen,
Mm-hmm.
like the law of attraction and all of that. So, I'm not so sure anymore if it's the creator, if it's God who is pulling the strings. I believe more so now that like it's me who is pulling the strings. Like it's me who needs to accomplish the goal. I need to not sleep in. I need to get up and put the work in, and that's when I will see the results.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just going to happen for me. I have to make it happen. So for you with manifestation and prayer,
Mm-hmm.
I know that you also will pray to and work with angels and other deities.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us a little bit about those types of things?
Yeah, so for me, I think of a lot of things having energy and different energy signatures, different frequencies, because we know that everything is energy that we see around us. Like it's it's energy, but also matter existing in the universe. But there are different frequencies that make us feel a certain type of way. So for me, I know that to be like true. So then when I think of working with, say, Hermes, and that is such a rich and fascinating deity to work with because of what this God represents, what this energy represents, is more of how I think of it. For me, that is a really powerful feeling that's being evoked inside me in a good way. Like it allows me to remember that I have willpower myself and to do the things that I want to do. And that's really what I think it's about, is like having that energy be drawn out inside of me, whether it's real or not real. It still brings that out in me. And I think that that's really what's important for people to know for themselves, is like what brings out that sense of faith, that sense of like something unexplained, having this explanation in your mind of how things are working out for us, how there is something over watching us in a way that we can know that we were put on this earth here for a reason, and everyone is figuring that out. Our souls are figuring that out, and I think that's wonderful. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you know, I also work with angels and archangel energies, and I was wondering how you think and feel about angels as well, since I feel like this is like kind of, a common ground between a lot of people in the spiritual community and a lot of people who identify more with a religion. So, I'm very curious as to what you think of angels.
Okay. Love angels, and I do believe that they are watching over us, they're guiding us. Part of that belief comes from growing up in the church and always hearing about them. And we had an experience, so we went to this like spiritual expo type thing, and we did this. It was like a class or like
A
a,
guided visualization.
yes. So we closed our eyes, and the lady leading it walked us through everything,
Hmm.
and we got to meet our guardian angels,
Hmm.
right?
Yes, and that was such a fascinating experience. Did you want to share more about that experience?
Yeah, so that strengthened my belief in angels because I felt like I was seeing my guardian angel. I have had a lot of experiences where I felt like an angel was protecting me. Like
Oh.
one time I fell asleep while driving. It was like really late at night.
Hmm.
I had my cruise control set. This was not good of me to do. I should have pulled over.
Yeah.
But I was really young and naive and I kept
Mm.
trying to drive. Well, next thing I knew, I was on the side of the road like in the grass and my cruise was still set. So I was still blowing down the interstate but on the grass. And so I like jerked the car back onto the road and I almost lost control, but then it just
Mm.
straightened back out. And I was
Wow.
like, yeah, I was like, whoa, God did that. So I definitely had a guardian angel or a few in that moment. And then there's been
Mm.
other moments where I felt like the angels were with me. So I definitely believe that angels are here with us, they're
Mm-hmm.
watching over us. Another reason why I believe is it's very comforting, and just believing in a higher power and just having faith in general
Mm-hmm.
is comforting, to believe that something else is there watching over us.
I totally agree and resonate with that.
So, have you had any experiences where maybe a guardian angel was looking out for you? Or you talk a lot about Hermes. Could you
Mm-hmm.
share any experiences with us that have kind of like reinforced your belief in angels?
This story starts kind of, it's a whole journey of how it all led up, but it started where I was in a really bad living situation. My beliefs of myself were really low, as well as what I thought I was capable of doing, just who I was as a person. I felt like pretty worthless in so many different ways, but I had been, fighting against that, but still not feeling like connected with a sense of spirituality. And this was maybe like 2 years ago now, maybe not even 2 years ago. It was like the beginning of early 2023. I started talking with someone who was more religious, and he really made me start to question if I did believe in something higher than myself, in God. And that's really it was such a pivotal moment for me to be like, you know what? I do believe in something greater than myself. The way that the events unfolded after that point, when somebody who was so, we just live on a floating rock in space, to not feeling connected, but to be making sense of all of these different things in my life, that all of the sudden had more reason, like the art that I've created, all of these different aspects of even who I am as a person coming together to make more and more sense about why I'm here and what I'm supposed to be doing. So I had a 12-day premonition, is what I call it, where I had a whisper in my ear and it said 12. It was just the number 12. And it's interesting, numbers have been a consistent theme in my life. Numbers and dates have been a consistent theme. So I said 12, and then for some reason I thought of 12 days when I had this like message pop into my head. So then I was like, 12 days. I looked on my calendar, and 12 days from that date, there was a holiday that I didn't know of. So I marked it on the calendar as three question marks, and I wrote 12-day premonition in it, and it's still in my calendar. It's still there. Everything that needed to happen in a certain way, where I got a job offer that I was able to use to sign a new lease. And at the time, I had to quit getting high and be like in a very sober headspace, not just disassociating into feeling all right. I was really confronted with the reality of my current, of what was my reality, just of what my reality was at that time. And so I had this like huge willpower drive in me that just like kicked on. And I said, oh, I'm no longer here. If it meant that I had to be homeless, I would have, and I would have done that. But there was something about the way that my brain was thinking. I was just so locked in to getting out of where I was at, because I had realized how awful it had really got to. And so when I felt that in me, it was so powerful. And I feel that in me every once in a while when I feel like it's serving me. But it's really how I want to feel all the time. It's like I want to keep finding those moments in me that when I know there is something so true to my soul's calling, my heart's calling to be doing, or to be somewhere else, that I am going with that and I'm really pursuing that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's even important that I'm here today, that we're here today, talking about all of this. Every domino that needed to fall into place led to me, of the 12th day of that premonition was the day I signed my name legally off of the lease there, which was the thing that I needed to get out of living there. I was no longer bound to living there. And that was like what happened on the 12th day. And that was such a powerful moment for me to be connecting deeper with my sense of faith and spirituality, because it was a literal confirmation of what I would call a psychic prediction of when something really powerful and meaningful to me for the rest of my life was going to be happening. And just the feeling that I was feeling when it was all happening, it was all very important for developing and evolving into who I am today. Like we've mentioned before, religion, spirituality, faith, they really all are connected. They are at its core a feeling that is inside of us that we're really connecting with, and that anyone and everyone can connect with. And that's why I know it's so important that we have conversations like this to really remind everyone that spirituality, faith, religion, it is for everyone to be connecting with that part of themselves, because it's a really deeply fulfilling feeling to have. And I'm so happy that we got to talk here today with your hosts, Riley, and
Zaylon.
thank you again for joining us. We hope you had something to take away from this. Anything you want to add?
Just want to say thank you for taking the time to share this experience with us. And we will be on here with you again soon.
Mm-hmm.
We hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye bye.